What is up, everyone? I hope you're doing excellently well today on Thursday, July 1st, 2021. The year is halfway over already. Halfway over. And yeah, I don't know how I feel about that right now. But I do know how I feel about professional wrestling, which has been quite enjoyable the last 3 or so weeks, especially with AEW getting back on Wednesdays. And I feel like Raw has been pretty good, and NXT's been good this week, this past couple weeks as well too. So it's been enjoyable watching professional wrestling, but I have not been around to do the podcast, so I'm back today to talk about pro wrestling. And of course, it's a day where I sound like I've been smoking cigarettes for the last 25 years of my life for some odd reason, but we're just gonna roll with it. We're just gonna rock and roll with this because I want to make sure we get show content out today. But before we hop into today's topics, which are talking about the New Day as a top tag team in WWE. NXT, the Breakout Tournament, is coming back. AEW's most recent show before heading back on the road. Before we hop into those topics, I definitely want to thank everyone for taking the time to listening to the show. As always, you can find us over at MMAratings.net and .com, which is our main platform. You can hit us up on YouTube at MMA Ratings and MMA Ratings Net on Instagram and Twitter. And you can always find our podcast over on Anchor, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Overcast, Spotify, and that's it. But let's go ahead and jump into the show. If you hear noise in the background, I apologize. My cats are deciding to have their own Hell in a Cell match right now. It seems like as they fight all over my apartment, but that's what I get for having two of these wild animals living at home with me. But let's go ahead and jump into some of the topics today. I wanted to start with WWE as I usually do, unless if there's some big major news. And I wanted to start with this conversation about the New Day. So if you have not been following, the WWE's been doing this listing, because I think they've called this Tag Team Appreciation Month, which is ironic in its own right. But they've been listing the top 50 tag teams within WWE history. And they have a lot of different groups in here. The full list will be available. So it's available on multiple outlets. But the last five, I want to say, are probably the most interesting to me. Because the last five are the Dudley Boys, Edge and Christian, the Hart Foundation, the Hardy Boys, and then the New Day. So I feel like you could have picked out four of those teams. Well, let's talk about something, because the Usos are sitting at 7. The Usos could have easily been in the top 5. If anything, I would have switched them with the Hart Foundation. And then, I'm a Bret Hart guy through and through. Will forever be for the rest of my life. But as a tag team, him and Jim D'Anville, maybe not top 5 of all time. Yes, it helped launch his career, but the Usos as a top 5 tag team, that should have happened. But the big conversation is about number 1, obviously, with the New Day. And I knew what the reaction to this was going to be. Everyone who saw this coming knew what the reaction was going to be, and that was that people are upset. The white male wrestling fan base is mostly upset. I'm not gonna say mostly, because not all of them, but there's a large vocal point, as you know, in pro wrestling, that people were feigning shock and ignorance and downplaying their contributions as a team. Yes, the Hardy Boys are an excellent group. To be honest, I was never the biggest fan of the Hardy Boys. I was kind of more of a Matt guy overall. But in my opinion, the New Day transcends not only without the New Day, there wouldn't be any Kofi Mania. So that's one aspect to look at this as we have this conversation. But the other point of this is that these three guys, Biggie, Xavier, Kofi, were set up to fail. That gimmick was originally put on them, and it was originally the way it was originally presented. They were meant to fail with that gimmick, and they did not. They reinvented themselves to a point where at one point in time they were annoying as fuck. But it's been 8 years since then, and they're one of the most successful tag teams of all time from a statistical standpoint. The number of reigns, the length of their reigns, it's just been impeccable with the way that they've been able to turn things around. And I think that that is what lifted them over the top in this conversation, and I get that. I get why fans will want to say, the Hardy Boys were the best because of, what they did back in the Attitude Era, their TLC matches, their ladder matches, the stuff that they did together and against each other was quite phenomenal. But in my opinion, the New Day as an established group, I can't put any tag team over them. I'm not mad at it at all. I wouldn't have been mad if the Hardy Boys were number one and the New Day were two. I wouldn't have been mad at that at all. I would understand that. But seeing these three guys like this, they are a Hall of Fame act together. Jeff and Matt. Jeff will probably get into the Hall of Fame on his own. I don't know so much about Matt, but the New Day, they are a Hall of Fame act. Period. Together. Kofi is a Hall of Fame act on his own. Will it happen? Probably, I say as I shrug. But I think that they are the best tag team that we've ever seen in the WWE. And I like this accolade. I'm surprised, but I like it. The conversations around whether or not they deserved it don't surprise me one bit. That's always how these conversations are going to go when it comes to black male and female performers in professional wrestling. Everyone and their mom will question whether or not they deserved it or not, but we're not here to debate that. But what I will say is that these three men are deserving of being recognized as the top team in WWE, just because of their contributions. Was it a little bit of recency bias? Maybe. But even still, I'll take it all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. But let's talk about Monday Night Raw, where the show's been getting a little bit better these last 2 to 3 weeks. And that's if you measure it against the low bar that is Monday Night Raw. But they have been getting a little bit better. And I'm still not of the ilk that will sit here and say, they're going to be so much better when they're back to live TV in front of fans. I still don't believe that, just because of people who are in charge making decisions. But there have been some better points of content on these shows. Take, for example, I hate it, but Matt Riddle has been much better on these last couple of shows. And he's been a standout from a character standpoint, from an in-ring performer. He's been leading the way right now. Kofi Kingston and Bobby Lashley, I love that main event angle. I love that they're finally getting Kingston back at the top. I feel like something's going to happen with the New Day, with the way that they're beating up Xavier Woods. He is going up against Bobby Lashley again this Sunday. I don't know really why, but that's neither here nor there. Let me see something real quick. So there's a lot of good things on WWE Raw, Monday Night Raw. Still some bad things, i.e. the booking with the women. I think that could be done a lot better. It needs to improve substantially in that space. But the women are still, they're getting, I think they had 3, almost 4 segments this past week. So they're getting strong booking on the show. Or not strong booking, excuse me. They're getting time on the show, not the strongest of booking. But Raw's slowly been getting better. I don't think that it's near where it could be. They had, when you continuously think about the resources that WWE has, the roster that they have, there's no excuse for their content being as bad as it is consistently. No excuse whatsoever. Think of your favorite sports team, and if they had all of the resources in the world to put the best team out there to win championship after championship after championship. But they just decide not to, because they've won so many championships in the past that they feel like they don't need to do anything to win anymore. That's the WWE, and that's really what is killing them. It's like if Jerry Jones is still running the Cowboys 30 years into the future right now, and he still wants to roll Tony Romo's old ass out there to keep throwing the ball around. I know I'm not the biggest Cowboys fan, but that's just the first analogy that came to mind. But the WWE needs to continue working on improving Monday Night Raw. The past couple of shows has been good. They've been decent bits of content. So let's hopefully knock on wood. That's me knocking on wood, that these shows continue to improve and they give us something to enjoy. We have Money in the Bank coming around. I am not going to really kind of dive into that right now. I will do a preview show, hopefully closer to the pay-per-view this month. When is that actually? Let me look and see what day Money in the Bank is this year. So Money in the Bank is on Sunday, July 18th. So about 2 weeks, a little more than 2 weeks. 3 Sundays from now. So let's see how that goes. But I'll give a full recap of what I think of the show, then, or full preview. But I'm looking forward to it. Because I think that I'm hoping that they go in a different direction when it comes to the briefcases for both the men and the women this year. I'm leaning towards Big E. I got a feeling Alexa Bliss is going to win the women's iteration of the ladder match, but I'm going with Big E for the men, and I think that would be that would be huge. I don't want to see him. Excuse me. I'm going with Big E, and I think that he holds on to it until scheduling his cash in at some point in time. He's going to be slotted into a main event position. I've been hearing rumors or thoughts, I guess, about him winning the Money in the Bank and then challenging Bobby Lashley, because Lashley's going to beat Kofi Kingston at Money in the Bank and challenging Lashley at SummerSlam. I've also seen some rumors about Lashley's SummerSlam opponent being Bill Goldberg, and I laughed at that when I saw that this morning, because the first thing that jumped out to me is the image of Lashley having the Hurt Lock on on Bill Goldberg and shaking him like a rag doll. That's something I would want to see. Anything else of the match, I don't care about. But if you tell me that I'm going to see an image or a video, a GIF of Lashley with the Hurt Lock on Bill Goldberg, ragdolling him back and forth while MVP's cheering him on, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, and I would love to be able to see that. But we don't know what that match is really. We don't really know too much about SummerSlam as a whole, other than the fact that they are trying to get out a bigger show for fans, because they'll be in Vegas, and this will be a big moment for them. So I hope that they do pull that off. But let's see some better matches overall for that. I think we're kind of heading towards that, slowly but surely. I think we're getting some better booking heading towards that. Yeah, that's really all I wanted to talk about when it comes to WWE. I want to turn my focus over to NXT, and it's funny how I talk about them as if they're separate promotions. They're all the same promotion, just one brand or two different brands within it. But NXT just feels so much better to me, feels so much different to me. So it is something I look at as a separate show. I look forward to that so much more than I do Raw or SmackDown. To be honest, I don't even get to watch SmackDown live that often, because I'm often out Friday nights, like I will be this Friday. But NXT is appointment viewing for me. Like this week, Tuesday, I was leaving my jiu-jitsu class, which ends right at 8, and I hop in Uber with my USA app on to make sure that I can watch the content as I am in the car, and as soon as I get home, I flip right back over. So it's that important to me to make sure that I can catch it whenever it's on. Like, it's that important to me. But NXT has been damn good these last few weeks. Where do I want to start? I want to start with the women's division first, because I feel like the women on NXT consistently I don't want to say they raised the bar. Like I don't. I want to make sure I say this right, because there's some pairings in the women's division that are can't miss to me, or not even necessarily pairings, but if you look at ladies like Io Shirai, Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai is now on that list for me. There are ladies that were can't miss. No matter what's going on, you have to see them performing. But that list is ever growing to me. Zoe Stark standing out, doing very well. Mercedes Martinez, I hope she's okay after taking that nasty kick in the head from Xia Li. She's another one. Raquel Gonzalez is looking good. Shotzi and Ember, I'm not the biggest fan of their characters, but their matches, the way they compete and perform, is always entertaining to me. Indy Hartwell has gotten so much better sitting under the learning tree of Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae. So that women's division is getting so much more deep. And I wrote about this, actually published it this morning, with Kaylee Ray. She's no longer the NXT UK Women's Champion. I hope she gets a legit run in NXT, because the woman she can go. She can go, and I would love to see her on a bigger platform, NXT UK. You saw them move Piper Niven over to Monday Night Raw. So hopefully that's a sign that they're looking at moving around some of those assets, because Candice LeRae is someone, not Candice LeRae, Kaylee Ray is someone I want to see more of, someone I think that the wrestling audience wants to see more of. She's someone that hardcore fans know about, women's wrestling fans know about, but not enough of the WWE fan base has really seen her, and I think this is an opportunity for them to move her over to NXT and get a bigger light on who she is. But I mean, if you look back over at NXT UK, Bea Priestley just signed, and she's just debuted there. Millie McKenzie's there. Over in NXT, they have Zeta Ramirez still there, kind of in the background. Priscilla Kelly, named Gigi Dolan, she's still there. I want to see more of Emily Anzukis. She's someone that we haven't seen too much of lately. So this women's division is deep. Like, the rich continue to get richer when it comes to just the NXT brands. We haven't even talked about the main roster brands. And I was tweeting someone, I think it was Phil Lindsay on Twitter a couple weeks back about this and Evolution 2. And I flat out said, yo, look, if you look at the women's roster in WWE, you can truly book an Evolution 2 and not include any of the Four Horsemen or Asuka and still put on an amazing show. Think about that. 5 of the best women's performers in professional wrestling today, 5 of the best performers in professional wrestling today. You can book a women's WWE card, not include them, and still have a phenomenal show from start to finish. I mean, think about that. They have all the names I just mentioned. They have Toni Storm. They have Saray, who is who's there from Japan. They have Scarlett, who can be a part of that. Beth Phoenix can even come back to have a part of that. Frankie Monet, Taya Valkyrie, have her. I didn't mention her. Like, so many women on that roster that they could leverage for a women's only show without even needing Asuka and the Four Horsewomen, and they would still be able to put something on that people would want to see and they would be excited to watch. But yet, they decide not to. That's the continued conversation of, you need WWE to want to do more with their roster, want to do more with their platform, want to do more with their content if we want to see those types of shows. But back to NXT, I want to talk about Diamond Mine. They made their debut last week. Roddy Strong had his first match under that new gimmick this week. So it's Roger Strong, Tyler Russ, Hideki Suzuki, with Malcolm Bivens as the mouthpiece. And I love it. I love the idea of a jaded Roderick Strong now as the leader of a group after being basically exiled from the Undisputed Era. It's like he was the one who wanted his best friends to remain friends, and they pushed him out, and now he's all types of angry about that. I like that. I want to see more from him. I'm big on Tyler Russ. He's had some good matches in NXT so far. You go back and look back at his match with Tommaso Ciampa, his match with Kushida. I think what him and Malcolm Bivens were doing before they were taken off of TV was really good. Hideki Suzuki is really interesting to me because he's 41. He's a great trainer. People thought he was coming in for that reason, but it looks like he is going to be performing as well. And I like the way he's just been. He hasn't said a word, hasn't done a thing yet, hasn't laid a hand on people, but he's the one a lot of people are asking questions about. So I really like that, and I want to see what they do with him in the future. But I do like what I'm seeing with Diamond Mine. Hit Row. I mean, Swerve's he's getting that push. Someone on the site wrote this week about Hit Row elevating Swerve to the main event scene, and I had actually wanted that piece to be written last week, but it came out the same night. It came out the morning after he won NXT UK title, but the rub is there. The dude is legit. I'm not gonna lie, I was not the biggest Swerve fan when he was over in MLW and other places. I just wasn't a fan of his style. But his character now is making me interested. His character with Hit Row behind him is making me interested. I'm interested in Top Dollar. Ashanti Adonis, that dude, he irks me a little bit, but I think that's what he's supposed to be doing in that character. I don't know too much about the woman in the group, but she has a good look to her too. So again, it's a lot of opportunity with this faction, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what's more for them. They could be elevated to the top. He could be elevated to the champion status. I think that's where he should be. They got to get that belt off of Karrion Kross. It stifles so much of that brand because they don't have him being booked as he's not booked in any way to make him look weak in any fashion. So who's going to beat him? You would have to have somebody like a Top Dollar beat him who's so much bigger than Karrion Kross that's how they play that, but they're not going to go that route. They have Samoa Joe there, and is Samoa Joe going to be able to get back into the ring? There's talks about him working towards that, but is that I could see him being someone who beats Kross, chokes him out, so Kross doesn't get pinned, and we already know he's being looked at for going to the main roster. So you choke him out, he doesn't get pinned, moves up to the main roster, and now he is in a different position, so they can take that title off of him, put it on someone like Joe, and use him as more of a transitional champion. I don't need to see that belt around Johnny Gargano, Finn Balor, Adam Cole at any point in time. They've had it. If you want to give it to anyone, Kyle O'Reilly and Pete Dunne, they could be that main event scene, but we've seen that already. You have Kushida there. You have Swerve there now. Legado de Fantasma. Now they've dwarfed, I guess, cooled off Santos Escobar a little bit. Was it Santos Escobar? Santos Escobar, yes. I'm sorry. I always get his name flipped backwards. They've cooled him off a little bit. I don't know if he's going to be one of these names that gets called up to the main roster. I've heard a lot of back and forth about that being a potential thing, and I'm not quite digging that. Because I don't feel like that they wouldn't be used in the right fashion. Santos, an entire brand can be built around him. He's that good. This faction, an entire brand could be built around those three men. I want to say that again because they are that good and they are performing that well. I would want to see that. Would that happen on the main roster? I don't think so. I don't think that they get booked in that fashion if they get moved up. But what do you do with them in NXT? Because Kushida's already beaten him. Bronson Reed's already beaten him. Karrion Kross has already beaten them. So what do you do with them next? You can't put him right back into the title picture in any way, shape, or form. So where do you really go with that? I do want to see what's next for him. However, I don't think that you could heat him up quickly enough, but how do you get there? So as you can see, there are a lot of different opportunities within the NXT brand. At the top of the roster, they got to make some shifts. They are doing the Breakout Tournament, which is coming back, and this is something I'm looking forward to. I wrote about this. They announced it on Tuesday. I wrote about it, and the names that I think they should have in it are Ashanti the Adonis, Tyler Russ, A-Kid, Carmelo Hayes, Trey Baxter, Bronson Reckensteiner, that's Rick Steiner's son, Ikmanjiro, and Ilya Dragunov. Dragunov and Kid are over NXT UK. I think this is an opportunity to move them over. Dragunov has already been on NXT in the past. And A-Kid, I think, is someone that a lot of people have a lot of eyes on. Tyler Russ and Ashanti, I've already talked about them on this show. Ikmanjiro is someone that a lot of people have a lot of eyes on. Trey Baxter, he and both Carmelo Hayes both debuted in matches against Kushida in his open challenge, both of them losing. Carmelo also had a good match against Adam Cole as well. But I think this is an opportunity to get him some wins and build him up as a potential North American title challenger, or even an actual build him back up to the Cruiserweight title with him and Kushida. There's opportunity here, but I'm interested in seeing what this tournament looks at. They have some preliminary matches announced for 205 Live, I believe. I haven't looked too much into that, and some of these names are involved. There's some other ones that aren't as well, so some other names that are included. But again, this is an opportunity for them to do something very interesting with this group, and I hope they really do leverage that as a way to build the entire brand when it comes to NXT. Let me see, there's anything I want to talk about else at NXT? I think that is it. I want to move over to AEW, because, we usually go about half an hour, 40 minutes on this show. And I want to talk about just the excitement around AEW, because they're doing everything right now. Yesterday was their last show in Daily's Place for a little while before they go back on the road. They're going to come back to Daily's Place eventually. But that show, there was a lot of energy around that, a lot of amazing energy, and you could feel that from start to finish. There's so many different places to really talk about it, but what I really want to focus on first is just the way that they're using their young talent. I wrote about this a couple weeks ago, but they have a roster of individuals who are under the age of 30 or close to the age of 30 that can be used for a decade. I mean, think about it. Darby Allin, MJF, Sammy Guevara, Adam Page, Jungle Boy are all 20 years old and younger. Ray Phoenix, I think, just turned 30. Britt Baker just turned 30. Max Caster's 31 years old. That's their main event right there. A number of those people are in their main event picture across, and that could be their main event for the next 10 years easily. And everybody would enjoy that. That is the type of booking that people want to see more of. That is the type of booking that WWE needs to do more of, needs to look at when it comes to leveraging their young talent. I don't want to see Jeff Hardy anymore. I don't need to see Randy Orton anymore. There's nothing new that they can do right now. Get the Miz off of my television. I don't need to see those guys anymore. We've seen them year after year. The people I'm interested in, they use sparingly. Obviously they got the title on Bobby Lashley now finally. Kofi Kingston's back in the main event again. But there's so many people that they have in the main event picture that they keep there that I don't need to see any more of. Plenty of them. So AEW is doing an excellent job of leveraging the youth on their talent the youth on their roster. And I love seeing that. And I also want to talk about the excitement around the build for Adam Page versus Kenny Omega, because they started it last night. And I can't wait for this. This is going to be a hell of a moment. And I love that they're doing the angle that Page is questioning himself whether or not he can defeat Omega, because that should be the story. He's lost to Omega before in the past. He lost the tag team titles. Omega's gone on to do such great things, and he struggled to get back up to a point of stature. I think that is a story that they need to be telling, and I want to see more of that. AEW All Out in September is going to be huge because that's where that match is going to happen. I'm going, and I can't wait to see and be around that energy because, again, like I said, AEW has so much positive, powerful, exciting energy around it that makes it fun to watch. They're doing plenty of things that I just don't want to see. I don't need to see Vicky Guerrero wrestling. I'm sorry. I don't need to see. I'm not interested in the Hybrid 2. I'm not the biggest Young Bucks fan. I'm a little tired of Penta, but they're doing so much other stuff that I think that is just working. Miro, chef's kiss. Miro is killing it right now. I laugh when I see him on TV because he reminds me of Chong Li from Bloodsport. The dude is out there murking people. And again, I'm here to see it every time it happens. I'm excited to see what they look like when they go back on the road. If they come to the DC area, I'll probably go. But like I said, I'm making it a point to go to All Out when they are in Chicago in September. But this has been an exciting show. I'm loving what they're building. They are doing things the right way, and they're putting together a solid platform that I definitely see why professional wrestling fans are really enjoying it and why they're getting the growth that they have. I haven't been watching too much of Elevation or Dark Elevation. I probably won't watch Rampage as well because it's also going to be on Fridays, at least not live. But they're doing things the right way when it comes to building up their stars and building up the content that they have with those individuals involved. But I need to see more of Thunder Rosa. I need to get my girl back on TV. But we are done for today, folks. This has been a 30-minute show, going kind of quick today, but I gotta rest my voice. But thank you again for taking the time to listen to our show. As always, you can catch the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast on MMAratings.net and .com. You can check us out on YouTube, MMA Ratings. You can hit us up across all of our podcasting networks on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Apple iTunes, Breaker, all those locations. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter at MMA Ratings Net in both spaces. And as always, again, you can catch me at rgarcia_sports. And as always, just thank you for taking the time to listening to our content. Thank you for taking the time for embracing us and seeing what we're doing. As always, stay safe in these streets. It's the 4th of July weekend, so be careful out there. No drinking and driving. Use your Uber. Take advantage of all that stuff that's around. Use public transportation. Don't get too wild. Still wear your mask. That if you can, get vaccinated. Black Lives Matter. And I'll be here next week. Have a good one, everyone.